There was once a TV program called Who Do You Trust? If you were to ask that question about electronic things, what do you think the answer would be? That's right, you'd trust no one and nothing. And while VOR navigation seems pretty reliable, do you think you can always trust it? Well, if you believe the answer to that is yes, then I have a terrific trailer park in some swampland in Florida that I'd love to sell you. No matter how simple and reliable an electronic device is, it can still fail. So you should always plan to use dead reckoning and pilotage and have them ready as a backup for any flight. Let's suppose you're tracking a VOR. You've checked that the identifier is correct and there's a solid to or from indication with no off flag. Can you now blindly rely on the course information? Of course not. But there are ways to verify your system's reliability so that you'll have a little more confidence in it. In fact, VOR accuracy is so critical for IFR operations that the FAA requires these checks be made within 30 days of any IFR flight. One of the easiest ways to verify a VOR receiver is to use a VOT signal. A VOT stands for VHF Omni Test Signal, and you'll find them at many airports. So how do you know if there's a VOT at your airport? Well, you look in the airport facility directory near the back, and you'll find a list of the VOR test facilities, VOT. Now let's see how to use a VOT. First, tune into the published VOT frequency just like you would any other VOR. But there's a difference. A VOT only radiates one signal, the 360-degree radial. So, what should you see when you've got the VOT tuned in? The same as if you're on the 360-degree radial of any VOR. You should read 360 degrees in the OBS and have a from flag when the needle is centered, plus or minus 4 degrees. The plus or minus 4 degrees is the FAA's accuracy tolerance. Then you twist the OBS around and set it to 180 degrees. It should read 180 degrees plus or minus 4 degrees with a 2 indication and a centered needle. Now, if you have trouble remembering this, think of the airplane, the Cessna 182. An OBS setting of 180 should give you a 2 reading. Of course, you may not have a VOT at your airport, so let's check and take a look at other ways to verify your VOR's accuracy. That same section of the airport facility directory lists VOR receiver checkpoints, both ground and airborne. The ground checkpoints exist at certain airports where a place on the airport has been designated as receiving an FAA-certified VOR radial. Gosh, what a proud moment for that radial. Then, all you do is tune in the VOR and select the radial to see how accurate your VOR actually is. With the CDI centered and the needle reading from, the OBS should be within 4 degrees of that radial indicated for that spot. And you can do the same thing by flying over an airborne checkpoint at the stated altitude. Once again, center the CDI and note the radial. Now, since it's a little harder to tell exactly where you are when you're flying over a point on the ground, the FAA gives you an accuracy tolerance of plus or minus 6 degrees instead of plus or minus 4 degrees. Now, if you have 2 VOR receivers in your Skyhawk, you can test them against each other anywhere you receive a good VOR signal. Just tune both radios to the same frequency and use the OBS knob to center both needles with a from indication. With the needle centered, There should be a maximum of 4 degrees difference between the OBS readings. Since these accuracy limits are only required for IFR flight, you don't have to meet them for your VFR flight. But if you know that your VOR doesn't meet these standards, it may not be reliable, and you should have it checked by a qualified technician. So now you know what you can do to have confidence in the information your VOR is giving you, and you'll have answered the question, who do you trust? Trust yourself.